Welcome, superstars. In this video, I'm going to share what to do if you feel like something's off, something's not quite right in your business or in your life, but you're not really sure what it is. Sometimes in life, we feel off. We feel like something's just not right here. Something's out of alignment, but we can't really put our finger on it. I like to call this divine dissonance. In my life and in my experience, I've found that whenever I have that experience, there's usually something really important, really deep that wants my attention. And I call it divine dissonance because I feel that it is that feeling that happens when we are not living in alignment with our destiny, with our truest self, with our highest self, with our divine destiny. I feel like it's a feeling that comes in to kind of bring our attention to something that we haven't been noticing, haven't been paying attention to. And so some clues that we might be experiencing divine dissonance, these are some that I've experienced in my life. One of the most common for me is envy. When I feel envy, when I see something or someone who has something or is doing something and I have the feeling of envy, that for me is a huge clue that divine dissonance is going on, meaning that there's something that person is embodying that I want to embody. Usually it shows up as they're creating something or doing something in their life that I've taken away permission from myself to do. So envy for me is usually a big clue that there's some sort of divine dissonance going on, that there's something that I'm meant to do or that my heart and soul wants to do, but that I'm not doing. I'm going to share with you some steps to address it. So I'll get into that in a moment. But that's number one, is to just pay attention and notice when you're having an experience of divine dissonance. And envy is usually a really good clue. Another clue is when you are finding yourself rejecting or judging someone else really harshly. When we are rejecting or judging someone else harshly, that's often a mirror for a way that we reject or judge ourselves, or something that we would never allow ourselves to be or do. It kind of comes a little bit back to envy, but it's also kind of the opposite of envy. So just noticing when you have a really strong charge, a negative charge, a judgment, a resentment towards somebody else or towards something that someone is doing, just examining what's underneath that, what's really there. Is there a piece of you that wants that? Is there a piece of you that has a desire for that, but you've shut yourself away from that? So the first thing we want to do when we find ourselves in this situation, and if you've heard a lot of my videos, you've probably heard me say this a lot of times before, is we got to slow down and listen. We got to start listening deeply and really giving ourselves time and space to just feel and be with what's happening, what's arising. What is this feeling of dissonance? Do you feel it somewhere in your body? Is there a specific person that it's related to? Is there a specific action? Is it your job? Is it waking up in the morning to do something that's out of alignment with what you were put on this planet to do? Is there a desire to create something, but you're not making time to create the thing? Like really slowing down, getting still and listening. One great way to do this is with meditation. Another is with a practice called empty presence, where you sit with yourself in the mirror and just get present with your own self. This deepens the relationship with yourself. It's a practice that I learned from my mentor, Nanilea Diamond. And so we might also want to be attuned to the times that this is meant for. Often what you'll feel is actually a desire to numb out instead. Instead of getting present and getting with the feeling, what you might find is like you're bored, so you want to go get a cookie. Or you want to go browse Netflix and find out what's playing. Or you want to go out and grab a drink. So oftentimes, these times when we have this divine dissonance, we might have a pattern of trying to numb from the feeling and avoid it by going off and doing something else to distract ourselves from it. So these are often clues that it's time to actually do the opposite and dive into the thing. The second thing you want to do is open up a space in yourself for truth. For truth-telling, for the raw and real, whole, unadulterated truth of whatever it is. Now, this is where it gets uncomfortable, and this is often where you really want to run for the hills, and that ghee truffle popcorn is calling your name, or maybe that's just me. But anyway, it's in this stage that we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's time to dive into the discomfort. My mentor, Nanilea, who I mentioned earlier, she talks about this. She calls it going to the basement, like going in and going all the way down into those dark places, feeling the feelings, and allowing ourselves to just be in there. So this is where, for example, in the book, The Artist's Way, they talk about excavating your buried dreams and desires. Some of us have buried these dreams and desires so deep that it's very hard to get at them. And so a practice like Artist Pages from The Artist's Way, where you're journaling, just free form, open, not even what stream of consciousness, every single morning, that might be a great way to start getting to what these dreams and desires are that you've walked away from and that you've numbed out and put all these layers on top of. So divine dissonance, step 1 is to get still, get present. Step 2 is to dive into the discomfort and go down and try to excavate what is the desire, what is the dream? Can we bring that back up to the surface? Now, before I get into the last couple of steps, I do want to invite you to take a moment to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I always invite you to comment and let me know what you think. Some of our dreams don't like to be bottled up and put away and buried. Some of our dreams might feel a little bit resentful about the way we've treated them. There may be some anger, some resentment, some blame, some shame that comes up as you start to excavate these dreams and desires, as you start to find what is it that I really want? What's going to start to resolve this divine dissonance? How can I bring my life back into alignment? You might uncover some really painful, uncomfortable things. It could be decades of something that we've buried. I know that when I was younger, when I was little, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a dancer, a performer. And I walked away from all of that for decades. And when it finally came back up for me and I was like, oh, I want to perform, there was such sadness, there was such grief at all the years that I had lost where I wasn't doing this thing that I always loved so much. Robert Bly calls this the descent into the ashes. And he says, I'm going to read from my notes on this one. He says, it is at this point in the discovery process that we make a descent into the ashes. We mourn the self we abandoned. We greet this self as we might greet a lover at the end of a long and costly war. So this is where we can mourn. And this is another phase. Another phase of this process is to mourn what was lost, to mourn the part of us that we buried, the dreams that we set aside, the desires that we didn't heed. And we go ahead and just feel the feelings of sadness and grief and mourn them. And this mourning process sort of fertilizes the ground for this next version of you that's going to pop up. So we basically, the tears that we shed and the anger that we feel, this is all going to feed energy into the new thing. There's energy that's bound up in these old dreams, these desires, these emotions, all of this stuff, the anger, the resentment, the shame. There's energy there that can now be liberated into some sort of new thing. So we mourn it, we let it die, we cry over it, we feel the feelings, and then that just naturally, we don't have to do anything. It just naturally starts to bubble up as, okay, what's next? What am I going to create now? And so that last step in order to create is to forgive and to let it go and to just trust that it all happened perfectly and that we can let go of the resentment and anger and hang on to the energy of desire for creation. And then that's where we can funnel all this energy and passion into something. Now, I don't know what the something is because you have to go through the process in order to find out, well, what is the thing that I want to do? But that is the solution to this feeling of something's not right here. There's divine dissonance. You go still, you dive all the way in, you excavate the old dreams and desires, you mourn what was lost, you forgive and let go, and then naturally, without even trying, something new will come up. And that's the thing that you can pour your love and attention and time and energy into to create something new and to bring your life back into alignment. I hope this video was helpful for you in finding some new way to relate to those dreams that you cast aside and bring your life back into alignment. If you want to work with a mentor, a guide to do this work as an entrepreneur in your business, then you can find me in the programs and services I provide at superstaractivator.com/go.